Hey, I'm Tom.
And I'm Tanner.
Welcome to episode 179 of Bird Squawk. We're back.
We're back after last week. We forgot there was someone on hiatus last week. But I mean, hopefully everyone had a happy, safe holiday. But I mean, they get the win against the Giants, wasn't pretty, and then complete disaster on Sunday against the Cardinals, and it's just really frustrating. I mean, we've had some extensive talks, obviously off camera, since the game, but there's so much to hit on, man. So much to hit on that they've been so bad the last month, but it was still all in front of them, and they just continue to get in their own way and pretty much threw away. I don't want to go as far as say the season, but obviously threw away the division, threw away obviously sitting yourself up better going into the playoffs. Because like if you go into the playoffs, squeak in 2 bad wins at the end of the year, but you're the 2 seed, you got a wild card team at home, and then you got probably the Lions at home. Now that looks a little different if things pan out as you expect. Dallas is good at doing one thing, and that's beating up on bad teams. They're going to go to Washington this week and handle business, and the Eagles are going to kind of have to just do what they're just kind of stuck. You know what I mean? Unfortunately.
Well, I think that's the most disheartening thing about the whole situation they had it on a silver platter. It was all laid out there. The number 2 seed was ours. And we come out, you almost ruined my Christmas against the Giants, right? And then you do ruin my New Year's Eve because, you're up 21-6 at half. We think, hey, this might be the game we put it all together. This could be a rout. And we come out and we just turn into the Eagles, right? That's the life of an Eagles fan, is you're never too high, you're never too low. But it's the talent that's on the field that we're not utilizing that is just killing us, because we've talked extensively all season that this offense needs to put up at least 30 a game, because the way the defense is built, they need to play with a lead, right? They cannot play coming from behind because we're just getting torched.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
And, the whole Desai thing, that was just a smokescreen, because let's face it, I don't know what goes on in the locker room. I don't know what goes on in the coaches' meeting, but that dude was the sacrificial lamb, because Patricia is doing absolutely nothing better.
Yeah, I mean, Desai was absolutely a scapegoat when they were kind of panicking for a little bit. And it's interesting because when we talked yesterday about around lunch, prior to AJ speaking, we were making a lot of comparisons to Dougie's last year. Obviously not record-wise and where the team is. And at the end of the day, this team still has it all in front of them. At the end of the day, they do. It might not be as easy of a path as we initially thought for them, or as easy as a route. But at the end of the day, they still can do something. They still, at the end of the day, control their own destiny. But just a lot. It was just a lot going on, and I don't know if my opinions have changed, but I know we talked about it in the last episode, how kind of like the locker room's been in shambles, and that's something that we kind of like hung our hat on with this team, that of the leadership. I mean, the last couple of days, I think the leaders have kind of spoken up since we talked, and kind of changed my opinion a little. But at the same time, I don't know, it's weird. It's all of a sudden today, everything I see is everyone's locked in. We're turning this thing around, like we're all good. But I mean, the last week and a half, it was moping, people not talking, rumor mill coming out that Jalen Hurts isn't this leader that everyone thinks. Like, there's all these rumors, and it was like, it felt very Wentzy Dougie at the end, but it's kind of changing, but it's weird.
It feels like I'm a glass half empty guy, because I think it was a wasted season. I mean, that's where I'm at still, because I mean, we were 10-1 a few weeks ago, and We hid those things. And like we talk about when it's a Dougie Wentzy situation, all right, things change then, right? So we talked ad nauseum for all that time about Howie. Why do you got to be the smartest guy in the room? Why do you think you got to go to Stanford and TCU and pick guys out, and be this guy when that crap didn't work? And we learned, hey, go to the SEC. You're going to get some ballers, right? I think it's time that we reevaluate and self-evaluate the need for linebackers on this team.
Yeah, I mean, right? We've talked about. Let's talk about the
how
defense.
often can we ignore that?
Let's talk about the defense, because I think at times this year they've been wrongly crucified. I think they've shown reasons that they can be good. I mean, I look at that Dolphins game. They held that high-powered offense to 10 points in that game. I look at other games that they played well. They kept the Eagles in games. I mean, you can look at the Kansas City game. Even though they dropped the ball at the end, they forced turnovers, kept the offense in the game. And they've played okay. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not letting it slide. I mean, they've been bad the last couple of weeks. They've been bad, I would say, a majority of the season. But I mean, we knew they weren't great at positions, but they kind of masked them. But then some of these injuries start happening, and they're thin at some of these big positions. I mean, Cunningham, he ain't a world beater.
We weren't thinking he was a Pro Bowler.
I was gonna say he ain't a world beater.
When we lost him, seems like everything went bad. Right?
He's not a freaking world beater, but he kind of helped.
I mean, he's cooked, right? Morrow, we already got rid of him. We brought him back. It's like cooked players can't cook.
But I continue to say this, and I will always say this. The D-line isn't helping. I mean, at the end of the day, I get sometimes you can say they get the ball out too quick. I totally get that. But there are plays that there are dudes locked up, and they got the ball for 5 seconds. Dude, I can only rely on Keelan Ringo and Eli Ricks and all these guys that you can only count on an NFL corner to cover someone so long.
Right.
You know what I mean? I mean, if you're going to have 7 seconds to throw the ball, people are going to get open. Someone's going to get open. It's just disappointing because at the beginning of the year, I wouldn't say they were having the sacks or the numbers as you would think for this defensive line, but they were making a presence. It felt like it looked like Fletch found the fountain of youth. BG was contributing. Once Hassan Reddick got his cast off, he was really on the come up. Josh Sweat was having a really good year. Obviously, Jordan Davis was playing well. Jalen Carter was making a case for defensive rookie of the year. And now these last couple of weeks, these guys they're flat out invisible. Truly. Yeah. It's pretty.
They are doing nothing. They are not bringing any pressure.
And the thing is, when they bring pressure on blitzes, they're not even that's the thing I know. You're sending blitzes and they're not even getting home.
Yeah, you're sending guys who aren't going to get there, and we're getting torched on the backside.
Exactly.
But at the end of the day, it just comes down to this damn offense, man. We've got the weapons on this offense that we are not utilizing. Right?
Yeah.
You look at these other teams, Justin Jefferson and Tyreek and all these other guys that they use in motion and hand the ball off and, fake and hit them quick. We got a dude like that we don't use, Devontae, in that situation, right? Instead, we're telling him, you go block for a Kenny Gainwell screen. Come on, man.
Yeah, it's really interesting, and I can respect AJ when he said, Brian Johnson, you're gonna have your opinions on him. I know everyone wants his head on a stake, but
my opinion is if Desai was the scapegoat for the defense, Johnson's got to be the scapegoat for the offense because Nick's not going to fire himself, right?
No,
if this is Nick's offense and Nick is in his ear, and then the other interesting story comes out that they're improvising plays.
I think Nick,
the inmates can't run the prison, right?
Yeah.
You got to be the leader. You are the CEO, Nick. It all comes back to you, right? The buck stops with you.
But you can. But I don't. The thing is,
tolerate what you allow.
I don't mind them improvising. That shows that you have
But we
faith in your
didn't
guys.
need the bomb, man.
No, they
we needed
didn't.
20 yards for a field goal to go to overtime. You
Yeah,
know?
but at the end of the day, Nick can do whatever he can say whatever. But if they go out there and run the play, well, what you can easily come off at the field and say, "What the hell was that? I didn't tell you to run that."
I'm benching them.
I'm
benching
let's bench
'em.
AJ Brown.
At least one
Jalen
play,
Hurts,
2
and
plays. I'm sending a
It
message,
was the last
man.
play of the game.
You ain't doing that. No,
I-
next game, you're sitting, man.
I mean,
I mean, come on.
I think some criticism on Nick has been valid, but I think he's really been, scrutinized a little too much this offseason.
It feels Chip,
this.
it feels Chip Kelly-ish, you know. I think Nick got Chip Kelly'd, right? If his offense is so great and he's the offensive mind, people figured him out, right? That was Chipper, right? It took 3 years. People knew he had 3 plays.
Yeah, but I don't know.
Right?
The thing is it? I want to say Nick. It's so interesting now because I don't know how much, and it's not really Nick's fault, but how much do I take this dude's word for anything?
Well,
like
yeah,
I'm
you
not
can't-
because like
can you believe
who,
anything
what
he's saying
is he?
now?
Yeah,
right?
is he
You know?
trying to cover up for someone?
Panic movie fires Desai. He comes out, takes the heat for AJ and Jalen. You know, what can we believe when he's at the podium?
And it's not really
saying,
his fault,
you know
but
what I
it's
mean?
like that's stuff that's kind of. I think a lot of it's not on him. I mean,
And if
that
you-
AJ thing is not supposed to be told.
And
But
if you can't call plays, then I don't want you calling plays because I need you focusing on all the other stuff like game management and losing stupid timeouts and not getting people in the game when they're supposed to. Being in charge of everything, right? And overseeing everything, making sure it works. The bottom line is it's on him. The players got to play.
Yeah.
But he's got to put them in a position to be successful. And I don't see it happening.
I don't know.
I don't see a draw twice and a screen to Kenny Gainwell putting them in a position to be successful. I just don't.
No, I get it. I mean, I just don't know. And it's weird. I don't want to be the conspiracy guy like we were at the end of Doug with everything. But it's just, it's his offense. But how much is he really doing? You know what I mean? Like, he can game plan all week. It feels very, very Dougie. It really, like, I don't want to make these
Like, we
comparisons.
already know that Jeffrey and Howie want a guy that they can control, right?
Yeah,
They
but
want to be able to set the game roster. They want to be able to, you know, hey, we got to throw the ball, you know? That's the sexy thing.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, and that's what ran Dougie out of town because Dougie was like, I know what should be successful. I want a Super Bowl.
But
Right?
but this is what I'm saying. We can talk about that comparison too. But I was mostly talking about, I mean, it feels very, very post Super Bowl win. I mean, you had Frank Wright leave. But this is the thing. Everyone wants to say Steichen was this guy.
We don't know.
We don't
Really?
know.
We
Frank
don't
Wright's
know,
been
'cause
fired
everybody
twice
said
when that
about
was
Frank Wright,
and he
right?
was the Christ who left.
Yeah.
So it's one of those. It's interesting. The parallels in that are almost identical. I mean, you had a high-powered offense. The OC leaves, and the offense takes a huge step back.
Yeah.
Like that's literally what happened both this year and the post Super Bowl win.
I mean, it almost feels like, you know, we went into the season, whoever was thinking 2 brand new coordinators were going to be great, that was a mistake. But I think, on the other hand, is some things get overlooked and tolerated while you're winning, right?
Absolutely.
And then when there's some cracks in the armor, some stuff comes out, right?
Yeah.
And it's like,
But
I think it's time to get back to the drawing board and hey, we need to pull everybody in here.
the thing I look at is, okay, this team's 11-5, and I think part of these critical things. I mean, obviously everyone's expectation
But
was
it's an
super.
ugly 11-5, right?
But you have to think they're 11-5, but they could easily be 8-7.
Yeah, that's very true.
I mean, like
Very
as
true.
bad as it's
Very
been,
true.
and as But like we might not even have been to this point. You know what I mean? I mean, it could be worse than this. It's almost just because of the last month. You know what I mean? I mean, you lost that Jets game. Easily could have lost both Commanders games. Could have lost that Chiefs game. Could have lost that Bills game. Yeah, I mean, there are multiple games in the beginning of the year. There's an argument you could have lost the Patriots game week 1.
Yeah.
I mean, they have squeaked by, and partially is to the fact, I mean, I still think this team is uber talented, but have just not been able to do it this year. But with that being said as well, they win on Sunday. Your boy's right on. I had them at 12-5.
Yeah.
I had them at 12-5.
Yeah. I mean, and you let Gannon come in there and eat your lunch. You know what I mean? You're the offensive mind. He's the defensive guy you brought in. And you let him walk in and basically control that whole game. Right?
Yeah, but he didn't. He ran the ball.
They had the
I could've
ball.
called that
Their
play.
time of possession was what you did last year, right?
Yeah.
To some teams, you just shoot up the clock, ran the ball, right? You let him come in and do that, and then you lose your aggressiveness when we get that onside kick. Right there, we needed a touchdown. I think that's a little bit of
they settled. They really did settle for the field goal. They were like, well, we don't want to get the ball.
And you could feel
back.
it. I wasn't even there.
Yeah.
But people in the stadium, you could feel the Cardinals had the momentum.
Absolutely.
You could feel that they were going to go down the field and freaking score.
Yeah.
And for you to not feel that and put an emphasis on getting the ball to the end zone, shame on you. Shame on you. You know? And that's the stupid stuff that we've been doing this year. Mm-hmm. You know, Kenny Gainwell scoring too early against the Commanders.
No,
they're almost Swift. They're almost beat us, right? You know, I don't know how many instances.
No,
but,
I mean, there's a lot of bad football IQ situations this year and leaving points on the board.
And if that's one of the core values, you better fix it.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks because, I mean, I don't want to say that I want this season to end earlier than it does, but I mean, realistically, you go into next week, barring a miracle, pretty much, and you go to either Tampa or New Orleans. With that being said, I would expect them to win that game.
You don't know.
But if you win that game, the high chances you're going out to San Francisco. And do any of us really want this season to end with us getting boat raced again?
Yeah.
By San Francisco?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, no.
But you put yourself in this position, right?
Yeah.
You did it to yourself. You got nobody to blame.
Well, I'm not blaming anybody.
No. But I'm just saying, this is the cards they're dealt. And maybe, just maybe, not holding out a lot of hope, because I've been around the block for quite some time. But just maybe this is what they needed to circle the wagons and get everybody all we got, right?
All we got, all we need.
All we got, all we need, right?
I mean,
and pull some rabbit out of a hat.
The thing is, too, and I don't want to carry on too much, I mean, there's a valid argument to not even play anybody this week. Like,
there is, but I think that you got to at least, since the Cowboys are playing at the exact same time,
and it's like 37.
If you look at that,
we got to take people out.
If you look at that scoreboard at
definitely
halftime,
up there. I mean, that's a fucking graveyard.
And the Cowboys are taking care of business. Yeah, then we're sitting some people.
I mean, I would say you have to.
I think honestly, I think that's their outlook right now. That hey, we're gonna look at the scoreboard.
Yeah.
And if it's already handled, then we're gonna take it. So
yeah, I
mean I'm still mad. It's still
frustrating. It's absolutely frustrating.
The game was Sunday. It's Thursday. I'm still upset about it. I'm still mad about it. I mean, AJ can say whatever he wants. I just don't see him, whatever he's saying, saving the season. Because there's too many flaws.
The big thing with what AJ said and what a lot have been coming out this week, and I don't want to be that guy, but a lot of this stuff I'm hearing this week is a little too late. too little, too late, in my opinion. I mean, where's this confidence? Where's this kind of swagger? Like the last how many weeks? I mean, you can let some of those losses slide. I mean, that's the thing. They were so not good in December. They were terrible, but it was still all in front of them to beat two bad teams.
It really felt like San Francisco just took our heart, man. They gutted us and took our heart, you know. But this team hasn't been really the same since that loss.
It's very true.
You know, they came into the link. They told us all off season what they were going to do, and they came in and did it.
I mean, it's extreme. It is a very valid point to think that it was kind of like a self-doubt game. Just the way that game went, that doubt that you were avoiding with winning those tight games, it was like, oh boy, here we are. Yeah. But I don't know. I don't want to carry on too much longer. We obviously have see what happens this week, and we'll obviously
keeping the faith, man. But
we got the play. We are still in the playoffs. As crazy as that sounds, as bad as it has been, we are locked in.
I mean, to put it in perspective, there's a lot of people out there that wish their teams were 11.
I mean, there's a lot of football. Right? As much as there's potentially only 2 weeks left in the year, there's a lot of football to be played still. So we have to see what happens and see how this team
shock the world
responds. But thank you guys always for watching. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at birds_squawk. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Fly Eagles fly.
Go Birds.